Ladies and gentlemen, be welcome in the Royal Museum of Fine Arts of Belgium in Brussels, even during this very special time of confinement. And I'm Joost van der Auwera. I am a senior curator for the Department of Old Masters, and I have the pleasure to introduce you some of our highlights in the Old Master collection and to give you some clues to their analysis. And so we will start with this very famous painting, which is an oil sketch by Paul Rubens. And you see 4 heads of a black man. In fact, it's one and the same black person who has been painted from different angles. And so it's specially done for that, because Rubens used then these sketches to integrate this head into several paintings and in several compositions, so that it's very easy then to use one of these views to integrate it in several paintings. There's a painting that has always been popular, but I cannot let it be transported for long, because if you look at the backside, you will see that there's an inscription by a restorer in Cyrillic, dated 1877, and then at that moment the painting was in a very famous Russian collection, private collection, and then they have taken off the panel, because the panel moves under the influence of humidity and of temperature changes, and so they have then put a canvas behind that. But the remedy is worse than the problem, because the painting is now completely unstable, it cannot travel anymore. But we have bought in 2017, so my colleague is responsible for that, David Delpechat, for 19th century paintings. We have acquired a copy of this painting by the famous painter and sculptor Constantin Meunier, a sketch from the end of the 19th century. This painting has been always a subject of debate, because for 100 years it was attributed to Van Dyck. It's only about 1980, with the very important study of Julius Geld about Rubens' oil sketches, and also by doing research in the labo and with X-rays, that so the common opinion is now that it is by Rubens. But there is another great debate going on recently, and that's about this label. And I am responsible for this part of the collection and also for that label. And it reads 4 studies of the head of a Moor. I got all sorts of critique on that, and I have to say I have already published more general approaches to this painting, to make clear to the public the different elements in that painting that can be considered, and I will also dwell upon that. I was fiercely attacked by Dutch colleagues before, because they thought that Moor, that it's not possible to use that anymore, that's too pejorative, and that they had to use the term sketch of the head of an African. But I do not agree with that, and I will explain you why. I will take some literature with me, so if you have a moment. So I'm back here, and you see that this painting has been discussed in the 200 masterworks, which will now be re-edited, and I also have added in the new edition some comments on that painting. And moreover, this is of course a publication for the general public, and very popular, very good, I think. And then in a series about art and finance, about the relationship between economy, finance and art, with the Association of European Public Banks, I also gave some explanation. So first of all, why do I not agree with people who want just to call this the portrait or the sketch or the study head of an African. Well, we are here in an art history museum. It's about art. And I do not deny the concerns, and I also find them very important about black people, and other people have comments on the title. But there is also a lot of misunderstanding. And so I think that nuance and historical insight is important in this, and also artistic insight. First of all, I would like to deny that Moor and Moresco is the same. So Moresco, as they use it when attacking this title, is in fact someone from the Islam in the Iberian Peninsula who was chased out of Spain by the Catholic kings. So they did not like them, and so that was not nice, of course. But Moresco is not the same as Moor. A Moor is a person who was called like that because he was from Mauritania, and Mauritania was the first African country from the European side to be seen. So if you came from Europe, where you could meet a lot of black people. Moreover, there is also discussion about Moor as a servant of St. Nicholas in the Netherlands. Therefore, also the Netherlands colleagues are very, very keen to try to decolonize, but also to respond to that. But also it's quite strange because, of course, he is the servant of St. Nicholas, but Nicholas has, of course, saved children from slavery. But whatever, Moor and Moresco is not the same. Moreover, Rubens, we know that because there are inscriptions in this theoretical book about the human figure by Rubens, which has been analyzed by many scholars, but also by Dr. Tine Meegang, and she discovered, for instance, that black people were associated by Rubens with the antique, like the Hercules Varietas, so an ideal sort of person who is nearer to the creation of God, who is older and nearer to the creation of God. Moreover, Dr. Elizabeth McGrath have clearly illustrated that in the oeuvre of Rubens, a black person like that was referred to as an Ethiopian, and Ethiopians were seen in a positive way as being the first Christians. So, apart from that, Rubens was much interested in that for an artistic reason, and this artistic reason is already into 16th century theoretical treatises in Italy, and that is how to paint a black skin, and that is seen as something very difficult to do, and so Rubens wanted to demonstrate that he was able to do that in a virtuoso sketch. Moreover, Rubens, when he was in Italy in 1608, he was still there in Rome, and the 6th of January, which was the feast of Epiphany, there was an ambassador from a kingdom of the Congo, a black person who was ambassador to the Vatican who died. And this was seen as a very, very bad sign. So Rubens knew of that, and it is very telling that there was a black person from the Kingdom of Congo who was ambassador so high end, so not at all slave. So there was slavery, of course, in the 17th century. I do not deny it, but of course, this is not the sort of contact that Rubens had with black people in this respect. So therefore, in hindsight, one can have all sorts of opinions about that. They also have American visitors who have all sorts of comments because in the past it was called the head of a Negro, which is completely seen as negative as a term. And also you have the whole history, of course, of Leopold II and the Congo. There has been instrumentalization of this when in 1957, I have commented on that, when the National Bank of Belgium existed for 100 years, then they made they printed money with on one side this sketch and on the other side Leopold II. So they made such banknotes in 1957 in Belgium. This, of course, I don't think that is the best thing to do, especially because the colonization of Congo is also the subject of much debate. Nevertheless, I find that very important on one side to recognize that there are all sorts of issues with slavery, with the history of black people, and so on and so forth, and we have to be very open to discussion to that. And also the museum will do its very best, as the director has informed me, to make more a presentation about this painting, so to put everything more clearly to the fore so that there can be discussion. But what I deplore is to be immediately attacked before I can explain myself. And so also that an exhibition like there was in Antwerp, to which I collaborated, on Black is Beautiful, that one cannot say that Black is beautiful. So I defend discussion. I am not so on the side of political correctness, because I find that this leads to a blocking of a real discussion. And I also refuse to deny or to go counterwise to some historical facts without denying other very, very bad negative historical facts. So I would be very, that would be my aim, that there would be an open and wide-angle discussion about that painting, and that in the end it is still important that it is an artwork, that it has also, and in the first place, an art-driven motivation. And so for Rubens, this motivation was to provide studies for his bigger paintings, and also on the other hand, to render black skin, and also to pay honor to the first Christians of Africa. Thank you.